Good morning, Veterans Council and Veterans fans on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube and LinkedIn. This, first of all, is a contribute to pre-celebration to Independence Day, which is July the 4th. Today, is July the 3rd, and in celebration and recognition of the COVID-19, I'm wearing my mask. This mask and my shirt are to be safe and social distancing. We don't want anybody to get any infection they have to. So social distancing, stay inside if you can. This is the time we celebrate our Independence Day. And unfortunately, like a lot of events that happened this year during COVID-19, it's really been scaled down, almost canceled a lot of places. Now you can see my beautiful face. So today, this is my weekly Veterans Council Veterans CEO update. I'm your CEO, Tony Williams. Good morning and good afternoon. You know, there's been a lot to discuss. We like when on our update, a weekly update, it's about, to give you an update on what's going on in Veterans Council Veterans the week prior and the weekend ahead, and also what's going on in the news. We've had two really significant events that I consider that occurred in the news, and one, of course, is Specialist Vanessa Gillen. Unfortunately, her body was found a couple of days ago, and apparently her supervisor was the one that killed her, unfortunately. And also, unfortunately, a Marine who took his life, suicide, Jason Buckner. So I want to make sure I want to talk about that. Now, in case of the Vanessa Gillian thing, this really has opened up a lot of wounds for women and men out there who have suffered from military sexual trauma, sexual assault in the military. It's a trigger, it's a heartful, and then the way this thing ended, it's even worse. And so I'm hoping there are people who know someone who is a survivor from MST, please rally around them and give them your support and understanding. And those who are suffering from MST, please self-care, contact your counselor at any time, well, I think you should be available at any time so that you can start to process this pain, this real pain. The only thing I had to comment about when we were talking about this through this whole ordeal that really didn't come to light until about 3 weeks ago when people in our post started broadcasting about it. One thing I want you to know, as a prior commander, headquarters company commander in Fort Hood, and actually I was born in Fort Hood too, that most commanders care more about their soldiers than anything else. So don't believe the hype, the negative, constant drumbeat of that the commanders only care about the NVGs and not about the soldiers. That's bull crap, okay? I'm gonna tell you right now, I had over 700 soldiers in my command, and I care about all of them. And I'm not the only one that did that. So when you do that, you paint a black eye amongst commanders of the military as well as NCOs, because NCOs also have a responsibility taking care of their soldiers. And I can tell you right now, I had 3 first sergeants when I commanded in Fort Hood from 1999 to 2000. I had First Sergeant Felix Alicea, First Sergeant Valdez, and also First Sergeant Pinckney. And they can attest to it well, because all 3 of us made sure we took care of our soldiers. So cut out the negativity. Let's deal with the subject itself, which I agree with when it comes to military sexual trauma in the military. We definitely need a culture shift. I know this is, just like the racial tension, we've been there, done that. And in a couple of weeks, the media won't even care about it anymore and it moved on. But those survivors can't move on. And we're going to continue to say something about Veterans Council Veterans. As we have our podcast, we're going to constantly talk about it. We're going to have a special podcast coming up in a couple of weeks that's going to sit there and help women out there and men out there who are military sexual trauma survivors and have been triggered through this event. So we'll have an episode talking about with the survivors and some counselors as well, so we can try to get our fellow sisters and brothers out there some support. So next we want to talk about is what has VCB doing. So episode 13 that occurred last week was about the postvention. Like what happens when a family or a veteran finds out that someone they know who's a veteran died by suicide. It's called postvention. A lot of you guys may have not heard about postvention because it's just not talked about in the media and the VA. And one of the reasons why, with the media and the VA is that one, for the VA, once the sponsor is gone, there is no carry on as far as the VA responsibility. Maybe we have to change that and maybe have the VA involved even after a veteran does die by suicide. And also, it's some of it's a stigma that's like admittance of failure. No one wants to admit that someone died on their watch. Oftentimes, they're not to blame, but they feel like they're to blame, and they feel like they should have done something and helped that veteran who took his life. Well, I can tell you that's farther from truth as you can believe. It's definitely a community effort when you want to stop a veteran from dying by suicide. There are little small chances where, whatever you do, the veteran's still going to try to attempt suicide, but there are still lots of opportunity and spaces that we can get as a community to sit there and prevent that veteran from choosing suicide. We want them to choose life instead of suicide. And that's what we talked about last week. We had on Jeffrey Selinsky, who actually, the whole segment was really focused around Joe Razor, Marine, who died by suicide several years ago. His mother, Carol, who's also a member of Veterans Council Veterans Tribe, was on, and as well as Joe's section sergeant, Jeff Selinsky. Jeff Selinsky now is retired and has his own nonprofit called FOB Razor, which is in recognition to Joe and what he's done for Jeff as he continues on with this battle. And that FOB Razor is also an opportunity for peers to get together and try to prevent each other from going down a dark path of dying by suicide. So we had that on. We had Jeff on. We had John Gigante, another VCV tribe, who talked about veterans that he saw die by suicide and how that trickled in. We also had Lakedra Houston, who is active duty Air Force, also part of our tribe, who also talked about what was going on in her community when it comes to active duty when a veteran dies and what kind of support they receive. We start out the broadcast with kind of when Carol Razor, Caleb Scott, who's also on the podcast, and John Gigante, all of us went down to pay tribute to Giovanni Cuevas, who had died by suicide on May 25th. We went out there to the funeral services to engage the family. So now with that, the upcoming week, we're going to talk about military suicides. It's something that, it's a lot more difficult because people don't understand there's a big difference between being a military. When you hear the word military, you're usually talking about active duty Marines, Reserve National Guard, and veterans. They're two separate things, and the services are the same, are also different. There's a difference in the fact when you are in active duty and you die by suicide, you get what you call a casualty assistance officer, who will actually help navigate from cradle to grave the whole process, and to finally get the flag off to the family at the funeral services. And so to talk about this, we've got two active duty service members who will be on. Lakedra Houston, as you know her from the tribe, who is Air Force active duty. We also have Master Sergeant Tom Cruz, not Tom Cruise actor, but Cruz with C-R-U-Z. He's Master Sergeant active duty. He has a lots of experience when it comes to active duty suicide and prevention, which will have so you'll get a lot of information from those two tribe members, and they're all part of the tribe. And then we got a special guest with Enrique Acosta Gonzalez. He's on because he has lots of experience when it comes with the casualty officer or casualty assistance do when a person is notified. So we'll talk about the prevention side. We'll talk about the intervention side. And we'll talk about the post-vention side when it comes to active duty. There have been lots of reports come out with the increase of veterans military suicide since September, October. And of course, as usual, the media is kind of bypassed it and is moving on. But we're not bypassing it. We want to bring insight on that. So this episode 14, it'll be released on the 6th of July at 6:30. And we're going to have this frank discussion about military suicide and what's exactly happening. Again, it's increasing. We kind of forgot. Some people have forgotten about it. I haven't forgotten about it, and we need to still keep an eye on the goal as far as eliminating and the decreasing veteran suicide. In the coming weeks after that, we have on episode 15, we have the psychology of transitioning. We'll have on Dr. Carlos Garcia, also part of the tribe, and that's one of his niches that he talks about all the time and is a speaker on. It's about the actual transition. One of the things we have to understand when it comes to transitioning, and we haven't really contributed or added to that, is the family. Again, over 69% of the military have a family member, and so they're going through this as well. They're going through that transition as well as the military service member. So we want to talk about that, and so we can get some eyes on, have eyes on that, what the family's going through, what the military who soon be transitioning out, what are they going through, what are they thinking about, and are they, and it's an adjustment. So there's a psychological part. There's a hard part, what I call the hard support, which is employment, entrepreneurship, house, and that kind of stuff. And then there's a soft one. And the soft one is the adjustment of mental health, the adjusting to all of a sudden you're no longer in the military, you're now in the veteran space, and there's a big time difference. It's like a night and day from the difference on that. So, so we need to talk about that as well. So anyway, this is Tony Williams from Veterans Council Veterans CEO Update. Hope to see you guys next week. Until then, talk to you later.